Another year.
This is so sad. I can't. We can't say
it was sad.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, you want the true story of how we ended up together?
Bad.
This is the true story.
Hey guys, it's Mimi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. This is Eric, by the way. I always forget to introduce him. So this is part 2 of the series that we started of our love story. So if you haven't seen part 1, I will have it linked down below. I highly recommend you watching that first. But I mean, you know what happens. We end up getting married. So it's like, if you don't want to watch it, that's fine.
Spoiler alert,
but
jeez.
I'll have it linked below. In that video, we talked about all about how we met and how we started dating, pretty much. So this video is going to be talking all about our dating experience. We're going to talk about how we fell in love, and we're going to talk about our story. So before we get started with this video, I want to say that I would love and appreciate so much if you decided to subscribe here to my channel. I'm a very new YouTuber, so every single time that I see someone new subscribes, I get so excited. He knows. When I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will be releasing like a fun outtakes or blooper reel for you guys all to see as well. So with that being said, let's just jump right in. You can do it too. Where we left off in the story was like pretty much you would ask me on our first date.
Right. So right off the bat, we went on a few different dates together, got to spend a lot of time together, and also very quickly ended up hanging out over at Mimi's house. And that's where, right before she moved out to go back up to school, so I actually met her family right then.
Like really quick.
I guess for a lot of people that's super intimidating, but for me it was like, it wasn't like it was meeting my girlfriend's family or anything yet, since I was just beginning to date her at all. So it was more like meeting your friend's parents, which I guess is still intimidating for some people, but for me it wasn't too bad. So I guess I kind of lucked out that I kind of got it out of the way before it was a big deal.
I moved up to school, so I moved back up to Salt Lake City, and I was there at the U. And I remember we had gone on a couple of dates, but we knew we both really liked each other, because even when we were friends, like we loved each other as friends. Like we were just always really close. So, but I do remember Eric went to go help his family move in Washington. It was like my first week of school. So Eric was gone. But I was there, I was living up with roommates, and we wanted to go to like this institute dance, like welcome thing. And at this point, Eric was like pretty sure that he wanted to be exclusive, and I knew I wanted to, but I didn't want to like rush into things.
Yeah, she felt it was a little too fast for her to like to just dive into it. More like mentally just thinking it was too fast versus like what she actually felt about it.
Yeah, for sure. And so it was like the first week of school, I was like, I can't get, like I need to at least go out there and like test out
who's out there, you know?
Not even that, but just
make sure I don't find someone better off the next day.
I remember though, I went to that like institute thing, and Eric was out of town, and I was just like texting him after, and I just at that point for me, I decided, I was like, yeah, when he gets back, I think I want to be exclusive with him. So that all happened, and we continued dating. I would say when we were like exclusive, like boyfriend, girlfriend, I feel like it just went pretty quick, because really quick we decided that we loved each other and that we wanted like more from the relationship, that we wanted to get married.
So our relationship definitely advanced very quickly emotionally. So like from our first date to us being like really interested in each other to being exclusive, and like everything just kept building quickly emotionally, that we just felt like super connected. And I think a big reason for that is because we'd already been friends the entire summer, except for that beginning part you heard about, but we had been like really good friends, like really close already. So we knew that we got along really well as just friends. And so I think that helped a lot as far as like dating, that we didn't have to know like, oh, did our personalities mesh? Were we able to like support each other and be like, those kind of things were kind of already taken care of. So I think it helped kind of get all that out of the way, so that now it was like, all right, romantically, like check, all right, cool, like moved really quickly from that.
I agree. We recommend being friends before dating. And I know now in the world with Tinder and Mutual and all those things, and just meeting people like from Instagram, right away you go right into that like dating pool, like when you meet. Our advice to you guys would just be we challenge you to try to become friends first, because I feel like the best relationships always build from there. Just think about Jim and Pam from The Office. That's a perfect example.
My advice would definitely be different from that, and it's just...
What?
Yeah, no.
We're supposed to agree.
No, be friends first. Like, every dating situation is going to be different. Like, you can't choose how you meet somebody. You can't choose how you come across them or whatever. So like, maybe you're set up on a blind date first and that's how you're thrown into it. But I think along the idea that you were saying though is definitely what I would agree with, which is like, don't be super worried on the first date about, am I gonna marry this person? Don't be worried about like, oh my gosh, is this gonna work out? Does she like dogs and this and that? Like everything on your list you have to have or whatever. Don't like be crazy about those things. Just try to get to know them as a person and as a friend even on those dates.
Yeah, and build a
just
friendship.
Let it happen naturally from there. Because I know like for me, like previous people that I was interested in, like I had a lot more, I don't know, a lot more like riding on it, or a lot more personally that I was actually just like worried about all those things. Like, all right, I'm going on this date to find out if I'm gonna marry this person. And it just really changed the whole vibe. Like, even if we had a fun date or whatever, like the whole time I wasn't just thinking about, oh, do I like them and do I want to get to know them better? Instead it was, do I want to marry them? Which is not really a healthy mindset to have going into your first date, your first few dates even.
Especially if you're young too. Like, I know Eric was a return missionary, and so I feel like it's more easy to be in that mindset. But I know a lot of you guys who watch are like younger, like just turned 16 and you want to start dating. Do it to have fun, do it to build friendships. We continued dating, and like we said, pretty quickly we knew that we wanted to be married like forever. And I think that's so crazy for me to even think about, because in our church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we believe in eternal marriages. So when we get married, it's not just until death do we part, but it is
or until
forever.
Things get tough.
Yeah.
Or until I find someone that's cuter.
It's like literally after you die, you're with them, and we have forever families, which for me is one of my very favorite church doctrines, because I think it's so beautiful. And now having Eric, I know that's truly what heaven will be like for me. I know, right? So anyway, that idea though, when I was dating, it was always really intimidating to me, because I would be dating and I'm like, okay, I like this person, but am I going to like them in eternity from now? Like, it's so crazy to think about. And that really worried me. I never knew, because my parents are divorced. I always had that fear, and I didn't think I'd ever find that right person that I would want to spend forever with. So when I met Eric though, and when we started dating, something that I thought was really weird is that I didn't have as many of those fears. We were just dating and like loving spending time together, and getting married wasn't a scary thing to me anymore. And the eternal marriage thing wasn't something that freaked me out, but it was something that was really exciting. So I know one of you guys asked, how do you know that they're the one? For me, I would say that was one of the key indicators.
I think it was definitely a huge thing for me that I realized, especially with us dating. Like after the first few dates, I realized I really wanted to spend as much time as possible I could with you. And so like other people, you're like, oh yeah, she was kind of cute, like I'd do that again. But like for me, I wanted to spend as much time as possible. And so like I was trying to figure out the next time I could see her. Like she's always super busy. She has been her entire life. And so she's going to school and working and doing all these things. So like it took effort to find time to spend with her. And so I had to like make it happen. Kept dating from there. We both got to the point relatively quickly that we realized that we both wanted to marry each other. But like it was kind of like one of those things where we knew just down the road it's what we wanted. Especially with Mimi doing pageants, we knew it wasn't even possible in the short term. It kind of took off that time frame pressure. Instead we knew like someday that would happen, but right now we knew like I want to do that.
Yeah. If you don't know very much about pageants, basically I was holding a title, so I was Miss American Fork, and while you're holding a title, you hold it for a year, and then a year later, the next girl is crowned. But for that year, you cannot be engaged and you cannot be married. So we started dating just a couple months after I was crowned, so I still had the whole rest of my year, so that's what prevented us. And you know what, I'm glad, because I feel like if we got married when we knew we wanted to get married, it would have been way too fast. Like even though we wanted, I think so. I think that if we had actually gotten married like just a couple months after dating, I think it would have been a harder adjustment from going to dating into being married. Because basically we dated for about a year and a half before we got married. I know for a lot of people listening, you're like, whoa, that's way fast. But for our church, I feel like the culture is usually like 3 or 4 months you're engaged.
Can be.
Like I said, it depends.
I feel like 3 to 6 months is like pretty typical.
We dated for a year and a half, and since we did, I really feel like we were able to get to know each other like so much more, and we spent a ton of time together, and so I really feel like that helped us just with that transition, because I know a lot of people say like the first year of marriage is like the hardest because you're getting to know their weird habits and all that stuff. But I feel like for us, even though we hadn't lived together before, I already knew you really well.
Yeah, and for me, I wouldn't necessarily say like that's a great thing, like you definitely need to do that and like, oh, you should date longer. I think for us, it was more like a happy side effect as far as I see it. Like, I guess that's a little bit different for me and I. Personally, like, I would have much rather we just got married sooner. If, you know, pageants were out of the way and things, like, it would have made life a lot easier for us, just because knowing we both wanted to get married but not being able to do it for a while was super difficult. The one like thing that I had that like was hopeful is I knew, all right, she gives up her crown in the summer and so we can get married right after that in the summer, and then it's over, like we don't have to keep waiting, we're able to be married.
But then, oh no.
But
okay.
Then
I'm gonna sound really, really mean here, but here's the thing. Let me just explain myself. So I was Miss American Fork that whole year, and then at the end of my year, you go to Miss Utah and you compete for the title of Miss Utah. Then whoever wins Miss Utah goes to compete at the Miss America pageant. And I love pageants so much. I have a video about why I competed if you still think that they're like super sexist and whatever. Like, we were past that. They helped me grow so much as a person, and I love to be Miss Utah. And if anything, my goal at Miss Utah was to be in the finals.
Also, a big thing that's important to realize too is like she had this huge goal of doing this before we ever started dating. So yeah, it was something that she was already always planning on for a long time. And then our quick falling in love kind of threw a wrench in her plans, and it just kind of made things more difficult that way. So it's not like we were dating for a long time and she was like stretching this out with pageants, but like this has been an important goal to her. And then out of nowhere, this relationship pops up that kind of made things more challenging.
And also, I was actually planning on serving a mission after my year as Miss American Fork, so that was also interfered with, but
that was a big discussion and important thing we had to work through also with just dating.
Yeah.
And figuring out like, should she serve a mission or should we get married instead? If
you want a whole other video on that, that could be its whole thing on its own. I think we don't have time for that right now, but let us know if that's something you'd like to see. Okay, so then I'm gonna sound so bad here, but I compete for Miss Utah. It's something I worked so hard for, and we actually were planning on getting married like just a couple months after the Miss Utah pageant. So I compete, and I do not achieve my goals of making the finals, but I still had an amazing time. I learned so much about myself. I made so many amazing friends, and it was just a blast. And while I was there competing, also, I'm just a very competitive person, let's be real. I wanted to go back. I didn't achieve my goal at Miss Utah, and I knew that I could compete for another title. I could compete for Miss Sandy, because I worked in Sandy. So I knew I could compete for that title and then go to Miss Utah the next year. However, that would mean that our wedding would be pushed off an entire year. So
when the pageant happened and it was over, I was like super stoked, because I was like, all right, Mimi got to achieve her goal of competing at Miss Utah. She did a great job, even though she didn't place finals, but like she got that experience, and now we get to get married. You know, there's no more roadblocks, everything's perfect, and we get to move forward. Both of us are happy, because like I didn't want her to sacrifice her goals to be with me. Because
I had thought about just giving up my crown as Miss American Fork and giving up Miss Utah to get married to Eric. But I didn't, so that alone was...
So like we decided together we didn't want her to have to give up on that just so we could get married. But then I was like, nice, as soon as it's over, we're golden, we can get married, everything's gonna be perfect from then on.
So what did I do? I competed for Miss Sandy and I won. So...
That was one of the worst days of my life.
Don't say that, that makes me feel so bad.
Well, it's true though, because I was super excited, and then you said you had to do Miss Sandy. I remember we had a lot of discussions about it, and I didn't want to tell her no, but I really wanted to tell her no, and she couldn't do it.
I prayed about it a lot, and for some reason, I didn't feel good about competing. I didn't feel like it was right, but I just decided that it's what I wanted to do, and I did it anyway. And I said, even if I'm competing, that doesn't mean I'll win, but I ended up winning.
This is the true story, not the fairy tale story, so sorry, it's a little sad.
It's true. I mean, but I do feel like going through these things helped us a lot, helped us grow as a couple, and I learned to listen to the spirit more because I do feel like if I didn't compete for Miss Sandy, we would have been better off. So that's where we're going to end this part of the story. To be continued.
You won, Miss Sandy. I really wanted to get married and was bummed that she won, but things are gonna be okay. It's just a year we had to wait. It's not the end of the world, and we'd still get married.
Yes, but to be continued, because something may have happened that, I don't know, I can't say. The part 3 to this story, the next part, is going to be talking about what happens directly after that pageant, and it's going to be talking about how we got engaged and how we got married. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when that one comes out.